Good morning. This morning I wandered around Como looking for more compositions. As I'm limited as to where I can go, I'm exploring the city a bit more and really trying to think outside the box about what images I can take. So on this morning, as I live not too far from the lake, but far enough that it's a nice walk to there, I walked through the city looking for more of those black and white chiaroscuro images like I did in last week's vlog, which you should check out. I think it went well, and as you might be able to tell, we're going to continue with the format that I did in last week's vlog as well. And to continue, I was wandering through the streets looking for some chiaroscuro images, architectural images with the light, but I was really struggling on the street that I chose, on the route that I chose that morning, and I didn't really find anything in the city itself. It wasn't until I got to the lake and I actually went into the park that I felt inspired to take some images, as there were these wonderful trees. The park is really well illuminated, there's a lot of street lamps, and they were creating the light and dark areas. So I ended up walking through the park shooting trees, which worked out really well. I really like what I took that morning. For the most part, there is some problems, which I'll explain later on. But I really enjoyed that morning. It was really nice and peaceful, and I hope you enjoy the journey with me now. I was struggling to find any compositions when I was walking through the city, but I've made it to this park that sits on the shores of the lake. There's even the marina just behind me here. And as you would expect in a city park, it's actually quite well illuminated. There's a lot of street lamps around which are casting these wonderful bright shadows, bright light, and thus creating very dark shadows on the trees around the park. And so that's my first subject. It's this wonderful tree. I think it's a lime. It's a lot of traffic noise. It's right next to the street lamp, which is creating a really bright side of the tree and a really dark side of the tree, which I think is great. So this is going to be another chiaroscuro image. I'm going to do black and white, really bring out the shadows, really bring out the highlights. There is quite a lot of lights in the background, so I might have to clone some of that out as well, because it's quite distracting from the main subject of the tree. The other thing I'm being careful of is the fact that there's a road behind the tree, and so there are cars constantly going past. And I actually don't want that light streaking. I'm going to take one with the lights streaking through the image to see how it turns out. But I don't think it's what I want really for this image. Settings wise, we're at ISO 100, f11, 10-second exposure. And with something like that, of course, you've got to have the 2-second timer on. Otherwise, there will just be some camera shake. Oh, squeaky brakes. I'm going to continue through the park and on to my end destination for this morning's walk. But I hope you enjoy this one. I think it's going to look quite nice. So as I entered the park, that tree really just stood out to me. It had a very strong contrast between the light side and the dark side, and I really liked that. And as you saw in the image, it's got this wonderful, dark, deep shadow surrounding it. And to be honest, I had to do a lot more editing than I normally would to get the image the way that I wanted it to look. There was a lot of distractions in the background, as you can see in the viewfinder view. There was a lot of lights in the background, a lot of bits and pieces in the background which were really detracting from the subject of the tree. So I ended up using a clone tool to take them out, and I normally don't like to do that level of editing, but I think it worked out well in the end, and I really like that contrast in the light side of the tree. And I did mention that I was going to try for an image with the lights streaking through the background, and luckily, as I was editing them, that actually turned out really well, really well. I'm going to put it up in just a second, but I just want to talk a bit more about it. So in the last image, in the black and white image, which I've got here, you can see in the background, there's not a lot going on, which I quite like. And as I just explained, it's because I cloned out a lot of the lights. And I took it when there were no cars going past, because the road is literally just going through the background. I actually timed it really well, did another 10-second exposure as a car drove behind the trees, and it's got this brilliant bright red streak going through the trees. And so this one's left in colour, and I really like that bright red, and there's sort of like the greens on the tree and the blues of the sky. So I think it worked out really well. So I am actually going to put this up now, and I hope you enjoy it. Let me know which one you prefer in the comments, the black and white or the colour with the light streaks. But it's something that I'm going to look at doing more, especially as it's still very dark in the mornings here, as it's still winter. I'll let you have a look at that image. Let me know which one you prefer, the colour or the black and white. Not very far on from where I photographed that tree, I found another composition with a tree that I quite like. I think this one's a hornbeam. It's a lot more twisted, which I quite like. There is a street lamp in the background, which again I quite like. I'm heavily underexposing this one because there is quite a lot of light, and I really want to accentuate those shadows. So I'm going really dark with the knowledge that I can always darken them a bit further in post. This is going to be another black and white, heavily contrast image, because this tree is just beautiful, and the light really accentuates the shapes, and the lamp in the background just acts as a nice little point, and the tree again acts as a leading line. It's a really great composition. I really like it. I've gone portrait orientation to really accentuate that shape, and I'm shooting at ISO 100 f11 for 8 seconds. I've had to switch to my wide angle as well, and I've gotten quite close to get everything that I want in the image. No, sono un fotografo. And I think it looks quite nice, to be honest. I think it will make a nice image. This one is a bit of a risk because I'm really not sure how it's going to turn out until I get it on the computer. It's just a tangle of branches that are illuminated, and I like the pattern. It looked a bit chaotic, so I thought it might make a good image. Again, it's going to be black and white. About 2 stops under exposure, and that's it really. It's not too complicated. I've gotten quite high up, zoomed in very close, trying to cut out any lights in the background. Setting wise, we're at ISO 100, f11, 3.2 seconds, and I'm not going to know if this is going to work until I get it on the computer. But if it did, I hope it looks good. Before we move on to the next image that I got that morning, the image of the tangle of twigs that are being illuminated by the street light. And to be honest, I'm not sure it works. You know, I keep going back and forth on it. I quite like it, and then I don't like it, and then I like it, and then I don't like it. I think it's a bit of Marmite, you know, you either love it or you hate it, and I'm not sure I'm where I stand, and in every given moment I love it, and then in another I hate it. So I'm not sure about it. That happens as well on a shoot, as I'm sure you are aware if you go out and do photography. There's just times when you're not sure about an image even after you've got it. So let me know your thoughts about this image in the comments below as well. It's very abstract, isn't it? I think my real problem is that there's no subject, and it's very chaotic. But that's also the reason why I took it. That's a difficult one. Let's move on to the last image of the morning, which I think is quite nice, but I want to reshoot it. So just after that shot, that risky shot, which may have turned out, may not have turned out, I found this, I literally just, as I crouched down to my bag, I saw this other composition, and I've just set up. So compositionally, I've tried to create a leading line by the edge of the grass, where there is that little curb. And I've also wanted to include that lamppost on the right hand side as a nice little bright spot, and it's sort of, the line leads to that. I also really like the bench sitting on, just on that leading line essentially. It's not really in any important position, I just like the way that it looks. I've got to be a bit careful because it's brightening up a bit. And again, I want this quite dark, black and white. And I might end up reshooting this another time. The other problem I've got is people keep walking into the frame, but you know, it's a public park. I've just got to be patient and wait for them to move. So I'm trying to get about 2 stops of underexposure, and that seems to be working well. So ISO 100, f11 as always, and 1.6 seconds to really darken it down a bit as it brightens up. I think it will look good. Battery died just as I was about to do the last bit. The street lamps here in the park have been turned off, so I think that I'm going to end the video here and really concentrate on those rather than going to look for another composition on the off chance I can find something. So instead I'm going to end it here and continue back at home base and talk you through what's coming up. In the meantime, before I get to that, I'm going to have a little bit more of a walk, just in case that something spots my eye. I'm still scouting out locations for other videos as well, so that's what I'm going to do now for the next half hour, and then head back for some breakfast and finish this vlog back at home. So that was it for that morning. I did go for a little bit of a wander around the shore of the lake a bit more, but I didn't really find any other compositions. The light was very flat. There was no colour in the sky. There was no direct light, which would have created some more contrasting situations. And without the street lights, it was a very flat day. So I ended up coming back, and I've since had breakfast, coffee, edited the pictures, sort of begun editing the vlog together so I knew what I wanted to talk about. And we're back at this point. Now that last image, which is here again, I quite like the composition. I think I might have tweaked it a little bit, given more time, but the light was really coming up fast and I wanted the sky to be a bit darker. So I would really like to reshoot that image earlier in the morning, so it's really dark, and then you got that really directional light of the street lights, and I think that would make it really interesting and very like a noir detective setting from the 1930s movies, something like that. I don't know, but I think it would be fun to reshoot. I hope you've enjoyed the journey today. It was a little bit different. I mainly focused on one subject, the trees, and pretty much all of them were black and white as well. As I began, I wasn't really sure where I was going to do this morning, what I was going to do, and I'm quite happy with how it settled. I quite like the images that turned out. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the images I had to edit a bit more than I would normally do, because in the city there's a lot more distractions. There's a lot more man-made stuff in the way, and I don't, to get the composition that I'd like, I had to remove some stuff, which I wouldn't normally do. So, hey ho. A heads up for what's coming up. In this park, which you can see in the background of this image actually, there is this great museum that is in the shape of a Roman temple, and it's the Museum Volta. And so I'm going to dedicate a video, either the next one or the one after, to photographing this temple in different lighting and conditions, because it is a beautiful temple. And I'm going to work it in the dark where it's illuminated from different angles, and then in the light again from different angles, and see how they turn out. So I hope you are looking forward to that coming up soon. And if you are not subscribed and would like to see that vlog, please hit that subscribe button. It is really greatly appreciated. I just recently hit 300 subscribers, so thank you to everyone who has decided to subscribe to my channel. It's a really big help as I continue to work on it, and I hope in the future to be providing some more educational content as I develop this channel. I'm rambling, so I'm going to end it now. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I will see you on the next one.